India has the fourth largest air force in the world by number of combat aircraft. Pakistan's air force is smaller but has in the past wars of 1965 and 1971 held fairly favorably against the much larger Indian air force. Today's wars are usually largely defined by the outcome of the balance of power in the air, as air supremacy gets you an edge in recon, frontline fire support, as well as strategic strikes deep behind enemy lines. So this video will explore the two countries' air forces, their planes and missile systems, and give an assessment of what an air war between the two could look like. So if it comes to an actual war, Pakistan will likely stay out of the harm's way of Indian SAM network and lob cruise missiles. India might feel a bit bolder, trying to venture a bit deeper into Pakistan, leveraging its numerical superiority. But that might endanger it more. So neither side is really positioned to be in a meaningfully better position than the other. And India's airstrikes might come at a cost of a somewhat worse air combat loss ratio compared to Pakistani one. Let's dive straight into what each side has. India has more combat jets, little over 600. Pakistan trails there with just under 400. Of course, not all planes are the same. Most planes today are multi-role, and the great majority have air combat capabilities. Note that descriptive classes shown are fairly broad. It doesn't mean that the two planes within the same class are necessarily of the same capability. Sometimes the difference between two planes in the same bracket is greater than between two planes in different brackets. India's premier combat jet is of course the French-made Rafale. Not counting the most recent losses, they have 36 active and have gotten the best systems available for them, including long-range Meteor air-to-air missiles, Hammer-guided bombs, and Scalp cruise missiles. They're the only AESA-equipped radar planes India uses. Sukhoi 30 MKIs are much more numerous and also quite capable, but they suffer from less advanced avionics and a mixed quality weapon inventory. Their radar is not really more capable than the one in the Pakistani JF-17 Block 3, despite being much bigger and more powerful. India has the latest variant of the R-77 missile for the Sukhois, but given the size of the Sukhoi fleet, those numbers aren't adequate. Today it seems Sukhois are mostly flying with a mix of older and newer R-77s and perhaps some domestic Astra missiles. India also relies on recently modernized Mirage 2000s and MiG-29s. The Mirages are equivalent to the Dash 5 Mark II or Dash 9 if you will. They carry Mecha missiles which are frankly a bit behind the times when it comes to capability. Air Force's fleet of MiG-29s has been modernized to the level of the naval MiG-29K models. They're fairly potent fighters now, but again, it's likely most of the R-77 stock features old missiles. When it comes to the fairly modern Pakistani planes, it's the Chinese-made J-10CE that forms the tip of the spear. Allegedly up to 36 have been ordered and most, perhaps even all, have been delivered so far. Those are modern planes which can hold their own against Rafales. They have advanced AESA radars and the PL-15 missile can likely go toe-to-toe with the Meteor missile, while also benefiting from a more modern seeker. Quite a potent little package is also the Pakistani JF-17 in its Block 3 iteration, which got a compact AESA radar, access to China's most advanced PL-15 missiles, and even twin missile racks for a decent missile load. For a short-range interceptor, it may turn out to be quite a cost-effective solution. Important to note is that PL-15 quantities in the Pakistani arsenal are likely very low. Pakistan also has some US-sourced F-16s, some Block 52s and older models modernized to a similar MLU standard. They all use decent radars and AMRAAM-C missiles. A small number of F-16s are of the older vintage, special air defense models made to use Sparrow missiles. The bottom part of the Pakistani roster is made up of Chinese-sourced J-7 PGs, which are 20-year-old airframes, but their underlying design is based on the MiG-21, so they're simply not a meaningful force in today's air combat. Pakistan also has a few dozen upgraded Mirage 3s still around, which are likewise at the end of their line. Neither type uses medium-range missiles in Pakistani service, which is a big hindrance. Both models are being gradually retired, to be replaced by newer types. India's bottom-level planes are MiG-21s of the Bison modification, which was good 30 years ago, but today they are being retired. They can, however, use R-77 medium-range missiles. Some MiG-29 trainer jets are also around. Without radars and long-range missiles, they are fairly useless in today's air combat. India's domestic Tejas fighter is okayish, similar to earlier block of Pakistani JF-17, sporting domestic air-to-air missiles. But Tejas production has been so slow and so protracted that their overall numbers are not gonna make them felt in a big air war. Both sides also have some dedicated ground strike planes. Pakistan relies on nearly obsolete Mirage 5s. Even though modernized, they are still not expected to survive complex threat areas, and are used mainly as cruise missile carriers. India's Jaguars are a bit better off there, thanks to a more thorough modernization effort, but we are still talking about a design that was underwhelming even for the 1970s when it entered service. But pure numbers and even rough qualitative comparisons don't really tell the full story. As we already saw from India's initial strikes, the side which goes on an offensive and approaches the other side's airspace puts itself at greater risk. Even worse, if aircraft go into enemy airspace, such aircraft are gonna be spotted by a variety of radars. Long-range early warning radars on the ground, various radars organic to SAM batteries, as well as aerial radar aircraft, meaning AWACS-like planes. Such planes can aid in offensive ops, as the only means of getting some long-range radars supporting your advancing planes, but also defensively, for example trying to spot low-flying enemy planes. Flying low is usually the best way of avoiding ground-based radars. As neither side has any meaningful stealthy jet capability, flying low or using standoff weapons is crucial in strike missions. Anyway, Pakistan actually has double the number of AWACS-type planes, and they're roughly as capable as India's. Some AWACS planes can also double as electronic intelligence gathering platforms, which may explain why Pakistan has fewer of such dedicated planes compared to India. Neither side is big on tanker aircraft, which would severely limit any side's options when it comes to deep strikes or flanking attacks. A crucial aspect of any air war are air defenses, meaning SAM systems. In a way, those are the great equalizers, as any side that's attacking also has to deal with enemy radar network and SAM network. Radars can direct fighter interceptors more efficiently and silently, meaning they don't give out their position by using their own onboard radars. All that can make even a smaller fighter force more potent. And of course, as we saw in Ukraine, even one generation older SAM systems can shut down skies to the enemy, if there are enough of them present. Perhaps we already saw that happen during India's initial attacks. Very little info was provided, but India did say 3 of its planes crashed. Pakistani media claimed as many as 5 being shot down. Footage available so far corroborates 1 or 2 Rafales downed. Still, imagery also exists suggesting that more planes of various types could have been lost or damaged in the attack. We will probably cover that in detail in a future video. Unlike with planes, which are more easily tracked, exact number of SAM batteries are more of a mystery. The following figures have been assembled using Military Balance 2025 publication, various news reports on purchases of new SAM systems, as well as photos confirming presence of certain systems in service. Most items have only approximate numbers estimated. SIPRI Institute, which tries to track arms shipments, says 70 HQ-9 and 300 HQ-16 missiles were bought by Pakistan over time. If 2 to 3 reloads are considered, that might mean a single HQ-9 and 8 or so HQ-16 batteries are in service. But Pakistan has in the last year or so gotten more air defense batteries. Still, Pakistan's SAM network is far more modest than India's, though even the existing HQ-9 and HQ-16 batteries may pose significant issues to India if India can't locate them beforehand in a war. Hunting down SAM batteries is something only advanced militaries such as the US and Israel have proven to be able to do consistently. In Ukraine, even Russia is struggling to do it. And Ukraine, despite US intelligence help, isn't any better. There are indications Pakistan may have even expressly received the newest HQ-16 FE missiles from China, providing a 100-mile range. CIPRI's reports on armament transfers suggest India has more air-to-air missiles and nearly doubled the number of medium-range missiles available per launch aircraft. India's domestic Astra missile is not included in the tally. That being said, China can surely deliver additional missiles at volume much faster than France or Russia. Situation in air-to-ground weaponry is similar. Both sides have plenty of missile and bomb types, but actual tallies shown are not really enough to wage a large war. Granted, CIPRI's database may be incomplete, and both sides have domestic weapons produced, further muddying the waters. Such domestically made bombs, gliding bombs, and missiles simply can't be tracked with any sort of precision. Still, it's likely guided munition strikes would be fairly sporadic after the initial weeks of a possible war, which might again lead to higher aircraft losses due to planes having to get closer to target areas, or it might lead to simply fewer airstrikes attempted in total. But what's very apparent is that an air war between Pakistan and India would be mostly one-sided. Pakistan simply doesn't have the number of planes required to go into India. India could overwhelm them there, and it has a better SAM coverage. Also, being bigger in area, strategic targets within India might be harder to reach. Deep strikes always make the defenders' situation easier, giving them more time to react. As said, Pakistan would likely stay out of the harm's way of Indian SAM network, and save for sporadic cruise missile strikes, it would try to engage targets closer to the front line. India might eventually try to venture a bit deeper into Pakistan, leveraging its numerical superiority. But that might cause the said numerical advantage to simply melt away once over Pakistan. One alleviating factor for Pakistan is China. India regards China as a potential enemy, and many of its air bases and air forces are positioned to face China, while pretty much 100% of Pakistani air bases and forces are focused on India. Still, neither side might be able to achieve air superiority over a hypothetical frontline, nor inflict significant damage to the rear of the enemy. India could do more damage for sure, but whether that would be enough damage, that's another story. And the cost of those airstrikes might be a somewhat worse air-loss ratio compared to Pakistani one. As said, the interesting topic of Rafales being shot down we hope to cover in our next video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell button so you don't miss out on that. And remember, Binkov may talk about war, but only real peace can bring us all together.